back to the What's Next podcast, coming to you from the Live Well Studios right here in beautiful Monterey. And today we have again Mr. Austin Palacios.
Hey, thank you, sir.
Welcome. How are you?
Oh, it's so good to be back. It's really
people.
good to be back. Thank you. You're one of my favorite people to talk to. Yeah, good seeing you. Didn't have a lot of time before we started today, but I did want to apologize to everybody in the room and everybody watching. Last time I experimented with a little bit of what you'd call the milligram edibles before our podcast, and I thought it would make me creative and flowy, and I watched it, and it was me searching for what was in the back of my head the whole time. So
can't do that one. Can't do that one.
Oh, no. So this time I'm fresh out of work, so I'm shot out of a cannon. Let's have some fun.
Oh, man. I haven't talked to you in a while. You're working on a door company now.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
I'm working for Monterey Coast Door and Supply now.
Okay.
So it's a boutique custom door shop located here in Monterey, California, right off of Del Monte.
Yeah.
And we're doing some cool stuff.
Really?
I mean, just these, think of all the homes and all the McMansions that are being built in Pebble and Corral de Tierra and all that. Well, there's a lot of the construction folks that are tapping us for those doors. And just the wild, cool stuff we get to see. Don't want to get too nerdy, but I mean, just the rare woods and the super cool hardware sets and just everything. So it's really turned into something that's kind of a passion of mine now, because you get to see the art behind it.
Yeah.
And now every door that I pass, I'm like, oh, did you look at that? Oh, they kind of hung that.
Isn't that funny how that happens?
Oh, man.
Right. I spent some years as a custom home builder. I grew up in my dad's lumber company, and when I was young, they took the truss company and they emptied that out and made it into a custom door and window company.
Oh, and the windows are where it's at.
And there was 3 guys back there that were just masters. You go back there, and like you said, they're making front doors for these mansions that are just like, how did you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Out of cherry or out of,
And it's like how'd you find a piece of wood that's 10 and a half feet tall for that? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just
every time.
Beautiful, right? And I can just smell it now.
Yeah. Oh, it's a smell that doesn't go, well, it's probably on me still.
You said you came in with some sawdust on you.
Yeah,
it's
sure
like,
did.
that's just home to me, man. That's so
I'll
cool.
sweep up on my way out. I'm sorry.
Yeah. How's everybody? Everybody doing good?
Everybody's doing good. Yeah. It's strange times, as always, just with the flow of everything. So whenever I get a call from a family member or a friend, it's like, all right, is this going to be one of those cool conversations? Or is it like, hey, man, I'm out of a gig? Or, a lot of my buddies in Southern California that are in the automotive world or in the film world, they're always in between jobs. So it's whenever I get a call from one of those buddies, it's like, I hope you got something good, man. But
right.
Yeah, it's
a crapshoot. It's a weird time right now.
It is.
I've been feeling a little irritable lately, and I don't know why. It's just high stress. There's, it's weird. Of course, I'm a massage therapist. I got my hands on people all day. Am I picking up energy of people that are stressed out right now?
It totally could
be. It's like, I don't know. But, I've been doing some camping, trying to get out.
Trying to disconnect a little bit.
Just trying to disconnect. And,
Oh, yeah.
Have mercy. I live here on the beach.
Yeah.
I mean, how can I,
I always tell people, like, I don't look stressed, but on the inside, I'm a factory of stress.
Right.
And it's like, every day you get to drive, to and from work and see the beach, and
and that does it. And a little bit.
Yeah, it empties the coffers just a little bit. Right. But I mean, when just open your phone and all the notifications are just all the wild things that are happening day in and day out. And I read a news article before I got here today that was Monterey has one of the greatest job growth percentages in California. And it's like, that's a cool number. I don't see it translated. Like I still have a lot of buddies that are, and maybe unemployment's down. Maybe that's the factor they're going off of. But the amount of people that I know that are great craftsmen or just great workers in the area that live hand to mouth, and sometimes the hand doesn't make it all the way to the mouth sometimes. And it's like, this is a beautiful area, but when the mean rent or the median rent is $2,600 for a 2-bedroom that, you know, could qualify as a 1-bedroom in other parts of the world. It's wild.
It's crazy.
And it's, you know, I talk to all my buddies, whether, you know, the guys that went to trade school, the guys that have master's degrees, or me, the guy that took 7 years to get like 3/4 of 4 different degrees.
Right.
It's all of us. All of us are like, all right, what's next?
What's next?
And it's always like, I don't know, man. Do you want to get together for a barbecue in like 3 months? Because that's all we can plan out these days, because everybody's so busy in the rat race.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, right.
It's crazy times for sure.
We had a guy in here that goes up and down the coast and destroys boats, and you know, he takes the keel and sells the lead.
I believe they call those pirates.
Yeah, right. Arr. But it's like some industries are making it rich, you know, because nobody can afford boats.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's like and he's cleaning up.
I know a gent who is expanding his business of hull cleaning.
Really?
And and
oh, that's cool.
And it's cool, but then he comes to me and he's like, do you know how much it is to cost, you know, the cost to fill up 2 air tanks for a 1-boat job, and you know, all the supplies and everything? It's like, yeah, well, you're expanding your business though, right? Like something must be going right.
He's probably got to keep it green somewhat too.
Oh,
you know, you
there's
can't use any harsh chemicals. We don't want them to here in the Bay anyways.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, you know, that goes back to my old roots of detailing cars in California.
Same thing, right?
Oh, man alive.
You jump through hoops. And in the end, just a little bit of history on that. I started a detailing company in 2006. And we went for about 3 years, and I decided to start doing at-home details. So I would tell the customer, hey, have your car washed and clean by the time I get there. So it would make my life super easy. Yeah, right.
I would just go through, wax the thing in their garage, and do all my detail stuff. Nobody was the wiser until people started saying, oh, well, I really don't have a way to wash it beforehand. Can you just wash it? And then people would see the truck parked out front, a guy washing a car without a recovery system.
Oh, right.
And, oh, yeah, man. And I got letters from that for days.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, they were threatening. They were aggressive letters. Like, each vehicle that you have cleaned without a recon system is going to be like a $12,500 fine. And if you don't pay these monies by this date, and like, I just kind of threw my hands up and was like, you know what? Detailing's hard on my body. I think I'll move on. Yeah, I'll move on from this. And then another decade later of just hard work on my body.
Yeah, right,
it never stopped.
That's what we are. We're just workers.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing is, we trade that, but I also know a guy that's a mechanical engineer that's 36 years old, my age, and he has an ulcer problem because of that project stress of like, nope, this guy from the top, he wants it this way. He wants it purple, and if you have a red one and a blue one, figure out a way to mix them together to make a purple one. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. But yeah, he has that stress every single day. And
at 36,
he's got ulcers, and you can see his shoulders hunched when he talks to you, and it's like, okay, I understand that I go home from work tired. He goes home from work with a whole nother halo of stress that sits on top of his head every day. So it's what trade-off do we have to living in this day and age?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sitting at an age where I'm almost 60.
No.
I look back
not a day over 40. I think you've been lying to us the whole time.
But I think of 35 as like the best time of life. You know, you're not making that many stupid mistakes. You're maybe financially figured it out a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, your body hasn't started breaking down yet, unless you do what we did, you know.
Yeah.
Falling off walls and stuff. But it was like, to hear somebody at 36 that's just broken down by ulcers of stress, and That's a shame, man.
It is.
Prime of his life.
And it's one of those things to where it's like, what will the trade-off be in the end?
Yeah.
Like, you know, because I hope to be at this guy's 70th birthday, and I hope he's at mine.
Right.
And it's like, what shape are we going to be in? Hopefully modern science really clicks up a couple notches, because, oh boy, I think my liver just had its 85th birthday.
Yeah,
so
right.
I think we better start working on that pretty quick.
It's all good. It's all good. How about Car Week? We just last week was Car Week here in Monterey. You know, if you guys don't know about Monterey Car Week or Pebble Beach and all that, you're not into cars. This has been insane. I've seen 1910, 1920s, 1930s just cruising down the road, man.
Heck yeah.
What have you seen?
So this is my first Car Week. Well, I call it Car Weeks because it's not just one car week. It is expanded into about a week and a half, two, depending on who you talk to. This is my first one in 7 years that I haven't worked.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Either I was a part of a collection to where we did, because you mentioned the quail, you mentioned Pebble Beach. There's also the quail. There's also Pasadena. There's the Mecum auction. There's the Bonhams auction. I mean, there's. They said that we had an influx between 185 and 210,000 people over that quote unquote main car weeks.
Yeah.
And just like you, man, I got to sit outside of the bubble for the first time, and I was like, oh, look at that, there's a Duesenberg just cruising down like I'm eating my sandwich at my normal sandwich shop, and I'm like, oh, cool, a Duesenberg, right on. And then I had to step back in myself and be like, oh, that is hundreds of thousands of hours of work for that person and the team of people that made that happen.
It truly is.
To get there. And the number of big rigs that we had, transport trucks that we had, usually in Monterey County, we'll have about 24 to 50, depending. During Car Week, we had the largest Reliant fleet in the western United States in our county. It was, I heard the number was 285 transporter trucks.
Bro, they were everywhere.
One time. Oh yeah, parking here on El Estero was awful.
All the way around this, what is this lake? This little
Lake El Estero.
El Estero.
Yeah,
all the way around the back of that lake, all the way up by Dennis the Menace Park. There were semis everywhere.
And it's like, oh, you know, they made so much money for charity, and they did so much. And I read one very interesting article that was that is all well and good. What is the green footprint that was had on that week for Monterey County?
What are you, some Californian or what?
Right,
Come on now.
right. Well, and I started thinking like, oh yeah, like a lot of those guys just idle their diesels, and I got the racetrack tattoo on my arm, we went out to the track and saw all my old buddies. Right. But I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, that transport truck's running, truck's running, because there's a driver in a suit in an air-conditioned room before he jumps in the hot car. So as a racer, it makes a lot of sense to me. But then when you start like, oh, I haven't been served a drink with a plastic straw in about 18 months, but these guys are just idling straight to the sky, you know? So it's always interesting, but Car Week this year was kind of special to me. I got to take my wife for the first time to the Rolex Historics races.
Oh, really?
And and this year was the 50th anniversary, so everybody pulled out like the coolest stuff from their toy boxes.
Right.
I mean, Ferrari GTOs, Niki Lauda's F1 Ferrari was turning hot laps at Laguna Seca. I mean,
you got Rolex backing it.
Oh yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
you're gonna get a crowd like that.
Yeah, and hopefully, knock on wood, they continue. They've been talking about different things to do with their sponsorship to not be a flagship sponsor. So we'll see how that goes, but. As far as I can tell, the Friends of Laguna Seca, which is the new kind of sponsor team and support team that's running Laguna Seca now, they brought in the greatest, food trucks and had, bathrooms set up everywhere.
Go, right?
They set up Laguna Seca kind of how it should have always been set up.
Right.
So it was really nice to see that and take my wife to the track for the 50th. That was cool.
How cool was that? 50th, really?
50th Rolex Historics.
Dang.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the first one? Holy cow.
Well,
50 years ago.
So they had booklets, and the first ones, it was like, oh, these guys in the 50s are ripping around 1927 Bugatti.
That's exactly what I was
T20
picturing.
T35s, and the tires were 2.5 inches
God.
wide in the rear.
Right.
And those things had supercharged inline 8s that made 230 horsepower.
Wow.
So, like, I got the opportunity to parade lap one of those around Laguna Seca, and even part throttle is terrifying.
Scary, no kidding.
Oh, it's you're steering it with
Really?
the throttle as you go, and I mean that 3.5-story drop that is the corkscrew. You're just, I hope it grips on the other side. Here we go, hanging
You're
on.
just trying to guide momentum.
Yeah, hanging onto a
And
wood steering wheel with no seatbelt. With no seatbelt.
Yeah, right.
And so, in the 50s, those guys were the ones that were doing it, and now they've moved up. And last year, the mark was Nissan, so they had all those crazy Nissans that we remember from the 80s.
Yeah.
The 300ZX with the huge wings sitting off the back,
right.
600 twin turbo horsepower and all that good stuff.
Man, I remember my brother came home with a brand new though after
Oh, no.
I think after he was going to law school or something, he came out with those 300.
Oh, yeah.
'Cause he always loved the 280Zs,
Right.
and then
Well, if you love a 280, the 300s.
the 300s, it was just
home.
like, oh my God, like holy cow.
Yeah.
You just stepped into another dimension, it was a 80s, 90s, whatever.
Right.
Early 90s, I guess.
But I mean, when you're used to a Chrysler LeBaron horsepower and then you hop into a 300CX, you think you're in a spaceship.
Those 280Zs were no joke with a Nissan motor.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
telling you what, man.
Without a doubt. So how did you fare through Car Week?
Well, I'm just a working stiff, so I got to be here during the weekends, and all week I get Monday and Tuesday off. So I just sit here between clients and watch these amazing cars go by.
Yeah. I had a friend come in from out of town unknowingly because he's got a truck and a camper trailer,
Yeah.
and he has a place not outside of Salinas, closer this way, but driving distance to where he could unhitch the truck and cruise out this way. And he was like, I was gonna take my wife and my daughter to lunch on Cannery Road, and we were gonna walk around.
Yeah.
And gridlock, like
Really?
gridlock of
Of course.
gridlock. Couldn't get up to Hawthorne. Couldn't
Yeah.
go down Lighthouse. It was. He was like, I thought I was just gonna have to park my truck and just start walking,
Yeah,
essentially.
right.
So, Car Week is good in a lot of ways, but man, the traffic it creates
Yeah,
is
right.
pretty rough. They got a little better with the shuttle vans. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if you saw a lot of those going around, but in PG they had multiple locations where people could, park their vehicle in a good spot,
Right.
get on the bus. I think CSUMB had one as well. So they tried,
Yeah.
but gosh, that many people come into a town like this.
I saw one lit up sign over there, please ride the trolley.
Oh, yeah.
Just
Anything.
please
Anything.
stop bringing cars into downtown.
Oh, my goodness.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was, man, coming from Michigan, I've said this about my old 67 Lincoln. It's like I haven't seen one of those since 1975 before I got here again, because they just rusted away and they were gone.
Yeah.
You come out here and you see a brand new Mach driving by, or
Oh.
a GTO that's just rolled off the
Mint.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or Resto Mod.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Something that's just right up to date with the best brakes and the best dropped in a crate engine
whatever
or
crate,
whatever,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And those are cool too.
No, it's
You know?
it's and the aftermarket world is we're in a beautiful time for classic cars right now.
Yeah.
Whatever you like, it really is one of those great times. Currently, you saw my '67 F100.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. So that guy, I it was a 67 F100 long bed with a big block in it and the Dana 60,
Rear
semi-floating
end, right.
posi rear end in it.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Girl, lights the fires. And that thing, we took it, we blasted the whole body, media blasted the whole body, shortened the frame, got a new bed from a company, new Ford stampings, and this company, Gold Star Automotive, I was the second customer to get a stamped roof for that truck because my truck has lived around here for 7 or 8 years, so it started rusting bad.
Sunbaked.
And
sunbaked
and just started rusting that little rim right around the top.
Yeah.
And the guy goes, I don't know if we should save this. And I went, at this point we have to, because I'm not letting go of this truck. I'm not ruining another good truck to keep this one going. So we're going to put the work into it.
Yeah.
And it's, so while that truck has been in paint jail, I started getting the itch.
Did they just make a new roof? What'd they do?
So the original roof skin was removed, and then all the roof bracing inside, they had to re-media blast and then cut out all the, cancerous rust portions, epoxy seal that, and then from Gold Star Automotive, I got a new Ford stamping of a roof. So
okay, cool.
So
and they just welded that in.
Yeah,
it was rusted right through the metal.
Right through the metal.
No kidding.
So at one point, if you looked in the right way, you could see daylight through my roof.
No kidding.
Oh yeah, I felt like I was driving a hoopty for sure.
Yeah, right.
But
Wade's got a sweet old truck that right there in the roof there, it's just rusting right through. It's like, got to take care of that. It's too sweet of a truck.
Yeah.
But I figured just the salt and the sunlight, just cook the paint off it, and the salt just started.
I got a phone number for you,
that
sir.
Sucker's going to go
We'll
through.
talk afterwards because we need to keep the old trucks on the road, man.
It's a beautiful old truck.
But while that truck was in paint jail, I just started going, man, I need something. I need something that can kind of get my blood pressure up a little bit.
Right.
And I started looking at trucks, and one guy's like, Ann Arbor, Michigan. You know the place?
Yeah.
And so this guy emails me, and he goes, hey, I think I got what you're looking for. And I went, oh, awesome. Send me pictures of, the lower fenders, the lower quarters. Show me what you got.
Yeah.
And everything looked great.
Like, wait, what?
And I was like,
How's
so
that possible?
when did you body off frame this? Oh, no, it was my grandpa's truck, and then it was my dad's truck. Now it's my truck. But, we never drive it in the salt. Never driven in the salt. And I went, all right, get me a couple of well-lit pictures on the underside of this thing.
I know.
And he got me a picture of the differential, and as the shackles wrap the differential to the axe or to the springs, 2 of the bolts were completely rusted through.
Gone.
Right. Gone. And then on the underside where your passenger's feet would go, there was 3 license plates and part of a stop sign. And I went, yes, that's Ann Arbor, Michigan right there. And I went, oh, I'm sorry. That's not really the perfect California car I was looking for. And he goes, oh man, it's pretty close. And I was like, okay, well, I'm not shipping it here for $3,500 or whatever it would cost me.
I told you that maybe I did or maybe I didn't. I don't know. But I had this old, I think it was a 69 Ford, and they had like the secondary gas tank behind the seat.
Oh, yeah. The super safe one.
Yeah. And below that, they had the cab mounts, 2 bolts coming off the frame. So it rusted all the way around the body mounts. So the whole cab dropped. Those bolts went up through the bottom of the gas tank, and that just came pouring out underneath my seat. It's like, who thought of this?
And
whose bright idea was to put the gas tank right inside the cab? It's like, I don't know. It smells like gas in here, and it was terrible.
I was going to say, I'm guessing that wasn't a really fun day for you.
No, I pulled that gas tank out and
just kept the primary one in it?
Well, I just jacked up the body itself, and then I laid an old saw blade on top of the bolts, and then I set the cab back down, and then I laid another saw blade over the top of the cab, and then just bolted that down. and it was just good as new.
Yeah.
Brand new, baby.
Ingenuity.
That's Michigan ingenuity.
Heck yeah, man.
You know, and it evened it right out with the bed, and it was perfect again.
See, in California, the guys would have drilled out the front mounts and then just set the whole thing down on the ground.
Dang it.
Yeah.
Totally forgot on it.
You could have been the first lowrider in Michigan, brother.
Take a corner and the cab kind of leans and drops back.
You can hear it creaking.
Woo! Yeah, that's it. Yeah, you got to keep an eye on that from Michigan. We always went to like Tennessee or something if we were looking for a cool car.
Yeah. Well, and now there's a lot of guys that I know and I've talked to. They're like, man, the new Oasis for old cars, the age keeps shifting forward as the car guys keep getting a little older.
Yeah.
So he's like, man, I saw it was a mint 1973 Buick Electra 225 convertible. The top was a little ratty, but man, alive. And it's like, yeah, it was sitting outside of Santa Fe, New Mexico. Guy parked it underneath an overhang, and it's just sitting there. And there's not from what I can tell, there is not a huge contingent of classic car guys out there that want to go digging like that.
Yeah.
And out here, an Electra 225 is 15 grand, 18 grand for a good body and a good frame. So go to that guy, give him 7. He's super happy, and then figure out how to get it home. And
little meat on the bone still.
Yeah, exactly.
Top on it.
But how is your old Continental?
It's great.
Yeah?
It's great. You know, I mean, I could put some money into the interior and the body and everything, but it's just a slow process. Everything underneath is brand new, you know, so it's just, just drive it. It's so funny. I drive it to work, and it's like, especially in car week, I got all these beautiful cars around me. It's like, I'm just heading to work.
Oh, yeah, man.
Not part of your parade.
You've seen, I have a 1986 Suzuki Samurai.
That's right.
You saw that cute little
last
thing.
Time you were in.
And I was bombing that thing around because, zips through traffic, and there's little to no parking footprint that you actually need for the thing. And I pull up to a stoplight, and this guy in Ferrari 488, so the twin turbo V8, it's got the target top on it. He's got the beautiful person sitting next to him with the huge sunglasses, and I see him kind of look over, and I kind of look over, and just get, showed him what 62 horsepower in a 4-cylinder really looks like from the 80s. And he kind of leaned out the window and he goes, man, I wanted that as a play car, and my first wife wouldn't let me. That thing's awesome.
It is.
And how he said first wife, and then the person in his passenger seat just kind of flipped her hair. I was like, oh, all right. Some upgrading was done along the way to where you're driving a 488 and not a Suzuki Samurai as your secondary car.
What was that old bumper sticker or whatever? It was.
There's one that's probably inappropriate for YouTube that I can think
of. Right. Something about the wife said it's either me or the Jeep. I'm going to miss her.
I'm really going to miss her. Oh, yeah. Got to get the sound effects in.
What else is going on in the world?
Man, I've tested positive, I tested negative for the past week and a half, but I got COVID again.
Really?
Yeah. Don't really know the source of it. My wife works at Target as a manager, so she sees 100 million people a day.
Right.
And it was right at the end of car week, so we'd seen everybody and done everything, and man, I got my butt kicked.
Really?
I really did. I was like 102-degree fever, body aches all over the place, and I'm seeing it kind of cycle around. A lot of my friends are getting it again. Yeah, it's big, and I heard about another booster that we can get, or a 2024, 2025 that we can get, and I don't know how many upgrades I need on my firmware, but I will say that last time was really scary for me.
Was it?
Yeah, at one point I was sleeping in bed and just, trying to shake it off. And my wife walked in and was like, "Here's your Tylenol, here's a water." And I couldn't sit up.
Really?
Like, I rolled to my side and tried to pick myself up. My wife had to actually physically pick me up and sit me up straight. So
it really kicked your ass.
It really kicked my ass. So I do want to tell, whoever's listening, and you too, to take care of yourself. Because I was like, I'm gonna pour myself a Jim Beam, and that'll go through and clear everything out. I'll be fine. And man, it was bad.
Yeah,
it was real bad. So just listen to your body and make sure that you take the time for yourself.
Yeah,
that's
right.
for sure.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people. I shouldn't say a lot, but a handful of people have called me and said, "Oh, I tested positive, and I was at your place yesterday. Hope you're okay." It's like, psh, I'm immune to your mortal diseases. I don't have any problems with that kind of crap. But, I think maybe I got weak for a couple days.
Yeah.
A little short of breath.
Yeah.
Not, my give a crap meter was a little bit down.
Well,
but I snapped right back. So it's like, I don't know. Is it? Maybe.
Well, with this news cycle, having my give a crap meter being any lower or higher than it needs to be right now, I'm pretty much over it. I'm just like, no, I don't. It's not for me. Don't bother me.
Right.
I'm thinking so micro these days that it's like, how can I make the city that I live in better? Like, everything else feels like too high of a wall to breach at this point.
Right.
I'm just thinking super locally on how to help my neighbors. Essentially,
exactly.
At this point.
Right.
By the way, how are all the babies? Have you been out to see them yet?
Yeah, I went out. What's it been, about a month and a half now? I went back and just hung out for a few days.
Cool.
I get a little grumpy once in a while. Yeah. Melinda will say, "You're missing the kids. You better get back there. Call the kids. Dad's on his way. He's getting a little grumpy. He hasn't seen his grandkids."
Oh, that's great.
Took my second son and his eldest son, who's 10, took him out to some property and camping and just chickens running around, and it was just a great time.
That's good.
Great time. So got to get grounded.
Yeah, disconnect.
Michigan's just amazing.
So that was going to be my next question. Is like, what is the temperature of Michigan or wherever you visited? Because if you walk up and down Alvarado Street and you see the locals, their shoulders are at their ears and they look like they just got scared by a ghost, and they're just trying to white knuckle it through this whole thing,
60-degree weather. Brr. Please.
Oh,
it's a different kind of cold. I get it. I'll be out there by the ocean sometimes just freezing my ass off going, what? It's 40? How's that possible? I'm okay down to 10 below.
Oh, yeah. Well, I did mean temperature literally, but also like the temperature of just how everybody's feeling out there. Like,
politically, it depends on if you're out or if you're in the city.
Okay, so there is kind of the same split that there is here and hereabouts.
Yeah, it's weird. It's hard to, I don't know. I'm not smart enough to figure all that stuff out.
Well, hey, be glad that you don't have that meter, because I have a friend. She's a wonderful person, but whenever we're out and we're hanging with people, she'll be like, "Oh, I can tell that he is, claims empath and all these things." And she goes, "Oh, I can tell that you're stressed about this, that, and the other. And part of it has to do with the election. And let me talk to you about." And it's like, "Oh, no, don't. Let's.
Nope.
What's your favorite cookie? Like,
anything
but this. Right, anything but that right now." And I've recently started a new goal to get off of all of the news cycles. I've been trying to find the best Cajun food in Monterey County.
Right.
That's been my new goal, because
it's a new drive.
When I worked for Mercedes Monterey as a parts driver, I made it my goal to try every taco in the county.
There you go.
That was a goal, and I had a lot of bad tacos. But
what was the outcome on the good side?
Oh man, Mi Taqueria in Salinas off of Main Street.
Yep.
You go there, you get their, it's the Ultimo Carnitas Taco. And so it's a handmade corn tortilla, cheese. They fry the tortilla and melt the cheese on there. Throw the carnitas. Then you get avocado, pico de gallo, and a little bit of beans on top. And the thing is like this big, and it's so cheap. And that was one of the best carnitas tacos that I found. Aquino's in Pacific Grove has some carne asada tacos that'll blow your socks off. And obviously there's a couple in Capitola and Santa Cruz, but so hard to get to. Like
right.
When you're actually even in Santa Cruz, it's like,
even if you're there.
All right, so I got to drive 7 blocks downtown. Okay, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
Like,
I used to go to that Michael's on Main Street in Salinas.
oh, heck yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it was literally 2 meals. It's huge.
And 2 meals for you, that's 3 meals
I know,
for me.
right? Got to wrap that up and save it for later.
Oh, heck yeah,
Which was great.
Yeah.
You know, got your dinner taken care of.
Yeah. Have you tried anything new around here that you've been enjoying?
I went out to Abelinetti's yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, because they got the outdoor thing with the dog, and they serve you the chicken on the Frisbee, and
Heck
the
yeah.
dog's digging it. So, and we can be outside and out there watching the whale boats coming in and out.
Yeah.
You know,
And we got a lot of orcas flying around these days.
the orcas are in the bay.
Yeah.
I heard that yesterday.
Yeah, I just saw a little clip on KSBW. It's wild, man. Like, they're breaching and everything.
No kidding.
Yeah, they look super happy.
Yeah.
So whatever's happening in the bay, I'm glad that we're still we haven't scared everything off yet.
I'm a Great Lakes guy, so I don't understand the ocean quite as well. I try to figure it out, and then what I understood was the orcas hang out outside of the bay in case the young humpback mothers don't know to follow the shore around. And if they go across with their new babies, then the orcas will get them. But they don't usually come into the bay.
Wild.
So, now, a humpback with maybe a second or third baby knows better. And they come in and they follow the shore around.
And they sneak through.
And they won't go into the deep waters because the orcas don't like the deep waters. Or the shallow waters, I'm sorry.
Yeah, wow.
So that's what I've heard. So I don't know what they're doing in here.
Well,
they're coming in after
your marine
now.
knowledge just blew me out of the water, man.
That's just what I've heard from an outsider.
I was about to say the only thing I know about the Great Lakes is I guess a boat just got found recently or that had been missing for a while that went down a long time ago and it was really well preserved. And that's why I need to read the entire article, is because I saw the blip, I read the first paragraph, and I went, gotta get back to work, and never got back to it. But
you mean in the Great Lakes?
Yeah.
Okay.
You guys have a lot of those crazy like boat sinks that happen out of nowhere.
That was I believe it was just a one-master, but it was a pretty long boat.
Yeah.
It had some huge sails on it, and it went down just north of Milwaukee, and they were in a storm, and it had passed through a couple of different owners, and nobody had really taken care of the boat. There was no real maintenance ever done to it.
It seems like that happens more and more these days.
Yeah, so they got into a storm, and all of a sudden they heard a huge crack, and it started sinking quick.
Oof.
And they all got into a 12-man boat, and they made it out of there, but that thing went down. Everything's just pristine.
Yeah,
sitting there, books
that's the
just
thing.
still
At
sitting
the bottom
on the
of the
desk,
lake,
right?
it just sits
Right.
there.
It doesn't do that in the ocean; it'll all rot away. But in the lake, it's super cool.
That's awesome.
Too deep to really go after, I think. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing is like I read I actually did read this article, and it was about finding sunken treasure. And off of Greece recently, they found a bunch of sunken wine barrels. Not Greece, pardon me. It was a Mediterranean boat, but it was somewhere in that region, and they had the biggest cache of antique wine jugs that were unopened that's ever been seen.
Wow.
So, I mean, I'm not
take the first shot.
I'm not a big wine guy, but I'll give her a shot. Sure, yeah. I'll be that guy.
Yeah.
Call me the canary in the coal mine. I will do it for the good of man.
He didn't make it. Some of us just didn't make it.
You know what? He went the way he lived.
Alcohol takes another one. I get another nickel.
Yeah.
Ay. So what else is going on? Man, I was watching, I've been trying not to watch too much political crap.
Yeah. Well, it's
What's
hard
your take
to
on it
avoid.
so far? See, that's what it is. I want to sit around and shoot the shit with you, but everything in the world right now, so wrapped
It's
around
very pointed.
this, yeah. So
And so the craziest thing to me is how the wedge keeps going.
right,
And I was talking with a buddy that's the same age of mine, and we were having a chat about excuse me, about how, like, we would have aunts and uncles that were diametrically opposed. You know, one was a Nader voter, one's a Bush voter.
Right.
And I remember very vividly them sitting around, you know, the Easter table or the Thanksgiving table, and everybody's got their coffees. Some people would have their cognacs, but it would be a conversation.
Right.
And it would be so that's what, so explain why you think that.
right.
And now I feel like even when I talk to people my age that are more aggressive with it, it's let me tell you what I think and
Right.
why you're wrong about it.
Right.
And so I've just kind of shut down talking about anything with anybody but like my wife and my really close friends, because I bring it up to a family member and it's like, yeah, can you believe XYZ? And it's like, oh, I didn't believe that in the first place, and I wouldn't have thought that you believed that, but
Right.
right on.
What's the basics? I want the wars to stop.
Yeah,
I want
that sounds
people
good.
to stop dying. I want the borders to be straightened out one way or another. Make it legal, whatever. Okay,
Let's make a
immigration's
system.
great, but let's make a system and let's not. There's just so many things going on in the world. It's just like I'm kind of an idiot, but it seems like I
Preaching
could
from a
probably,
mountaintop, brother. I'll second that on myself.
Yeah, it's like, well, how come all these smart people are, it just seems money based.
And it's so funny
Yeah.
that you get to I saw, welcome to being 36. I saw a meme the other day that really made me laugh, but made me think, because it said, oh, new SpaceX, it's going to be this whole community that lives in space, and it's going to cost $23 trillion to get it up there and assemble it, but people should be living there by 2030. And the first comment had 100,000 likes, and it said, "We don't care. We want health care."
It's serious. Right.
Like, that's cool. Do
Right.
that with your money.
But do that. Don't stop doing that.
Sure. Yeah.
I want to progress the species also.
Yeah.
SpaceX? Yes. X, you want to buy it and free speech up a little bit? Sure. Stop people from, just editing everybody else's speeches. That's not American at all.
No,
You take our guns away? What?
Well,
You're not from Michigan.
Well, right. And it's like I grew up in California, so I have all these, ideas that were made into concrete
Sure.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
That now I'm starting to chip away at, going, huh.
Yeah.
Maybe we didn't think that one all the way through.
Right.
And you got it. The wars. I still have buddies going off to war.
Right.
I still have buddies going off to war.
Yeah.
And they come back. I breathe a sigh of relief. But
Are they back?
But are they back? And
Right.
and I had lunch recently with a guy that he was real close to a real big boom.
Yeah.
And it scrambled his eggs a little bit.
Sure.
And so him and I had a long conversation about CTE and the long-lasting effects that come with that. And so even when, much like Vietnam, even when we're done with the actual war, there is going to be a whole extra side to this. And I don't want to see one veteran homeless. That's weak on our part, on the system, on all of us. It's generally, I see it as unacceptable because they did this for us. And so, yes, let's end the wars that are making a lot of people a lot of money. I mean, Halliburton, Boeing, all these companies that have been around forever are also hand over fisting the United States government.
Right.
And so, I would love the wars to end, but I understand there's going to be a long road ahead but you know, that's the Californian in me is, hey man, we don't need to be a world police. Like, we can just help people out when they need it, and not be this force.
Yeah.
And a lot of my buddies, like, you know, a lot of the people that I speak to see that as a weak standpoint. And sure, think of it however you want. That's how you see me. But really, I'd love to see my good friends stop going off to war and getting their eggs scrambled.
Exactly.
And on top of that, maybe I'd like to see some tax money spent on this side of the pond, and maybe we can, you know, start those mental health facilities that were taken away during the Reagan era.
It's like everybody says this, but it doesn't seem to echo past the government, you know? And it's not like we're sending money to these countries. We're just giving it to American companies to make arms for them.
Yeah.
And we're out of ammunition because we gave it all away.
Right.
We're out of a lot of stuff because we left it in
How
Afghanistan.
is Kandahar going to have a Burger King? Come on, man. Think about it.
Yeah.
There's a KFC in Kandahar.
Yeah, right.
Let's talk about how weird that is, because there's multiples on bases and then there's multiples in the actual stateside. So it's you know, spreading democracy and all these things, but the war thing is one of those things that I actually you hit it on the head. I do have a problem with it because, you know, they called Vietnam the unwinnable war that was a quote unquote forever war. I you know,
we were kids. We witnessed that stuff. We didn't witness it firsthand, but we witnessed people not coming back.
And it was the first war that was on TV.
On TV for a while until they were like, no, let's not do that.
That's bad.
Interrupt.
That's bad PR.
So it's been going on for a long time.
And then it was like, oh, you know, because my father was involved in the Bay of Pigs.
Really?
Yeah. So actually going back right to the border crisis. So my father, born in Monterey, Mexico, he was a mechanic, a machinist, and wanted a better life.
Yeah.
So hops the border in Mission, Texas, takes a bus, goes to Chicago. They catch him. Hey man, you're not supposed to be here. Your visa expired. They bus him back. That happens 2 more times. On the fourth time, they said, all right, now there's 2 options. Option A, 25 years in the federal pen, or option B, salute the American flag and join the army.
Really?
And he was like, oh, sorry, yes,
sir.
Bob. And so
4
years in the army, was an honorary citizen, was given the status of an honorary citizen, and because he was in a certain motor pool in Louisiana, they just went, all right, everybody from number 5545 to 10545, hop on that boat, and you're probably going to be going to Cuba. So send a letter or 2 if you want to.
Yeah, right.
But
update all your
we're heading to Cuba, boys. And like they said that they were hanging out and smoking cigarettes and suntanning they were just suntanning and we're going to Cuba. This will be fun. And then all of a sudden they saw the Russian boats.
Yeah.
And it was like, off the distance to a very close distance until they turned around.
Yeah, real quick.
And it's like, this, you know, Johnson, measuring contest has been going forever.
Right.
And like the Cold War, we didn't learn anything. The Vietnam War, it doesn't feel like we learned anything.
How to make money.
Vietnam made a lot of money for a lot of people.
Right.
And I mean, I was a post-Reconstruction American history major, and so, you know, the decrees that were signed in the 14 days after John F. Kennedy was assassinated are wild. And,
really?
And they keep releasing little snippets more that are piecing together a puzzle of like, no, the war machine keeps going.
Yeah.
The war machine keeps going, and that's how this is going to happen, and we're going to save the South Vietnamese. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, right.
And now here we are. I was in middle school when when 9/11 happened.
Oh, yeah,
And
right.
I mean, I knew friends who their older brothers were dropping out of high school in an affluent neighborhood in the Bay Area, like the crux of it, because it hit everybody so hard.
Yeah.
And now, 20
in
years
the
later.
droves, man.
Oh,
Kids
yeah.
were signing up in droves. Middle-aged men were signing up
Yeah.
in droves, man.
Oh, I knew guys that were pissed because they were 37 and they missed the cutoff.
Yeah.
And, oh, yeah. I mean, it was a real defining moment, which at the time unified us. It unified us all in a really
about 3
weird
weeks.
way. I mean, yeah. It happened so quick, and we were all brothers and sisters in arms, and we were
Flags
here for each other.
everywhere.
My dad had one of those brush bars on the front of his white Yukon. I'll never forget it. And he put American flags on each
Right
corner.
on.
And dude, we would be driving down the road, and people would, fist, thumbs up, honking the horn.
Right.
And it really felt like we were all together.
Right.
And then it fell apart real quick after that. And
How do you make cohesiveness like that without something exploding
or someone dying?
or a bunch of people dying? What's the secret? What's the idea?
Well,
it's always going to be two sides, and it's just going to fight to the death, 50-50. Like, what is going on?
Well, and like we sit here. I don't think that you agree with everything that I have to say.
For sure.
And I know that I don't agree with everything that you have to say.
Right.
And guess what? We're good friends, and we still sit here and chat all the time.
Right.
And I try to engage as many people as I can in a conversation just like this.
Right.
And then at some point, it'll always go back to... It goes back to like 5th grade, man. It's like, yeah, well, your candidate stinks. And it's like, wait.
know.
No. Let's tell me what policy stinks. Tell me what they did. And it's like, oh, well, I heard on this one website that is www.imright.com.
Right.
And it says that I'm right because and then they take a snippet from X and they take
They
a
build
snippet.
walls around it.
And then they go, no, this is their policy. And it's like, no, are they just a person? And maybe, I've worked in a government job before.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not that we're better than everybody else. Maybe just maybe is we're slightly better than everybody else.
Right.
Like everybody else is so bad at their job that us being a C+ student makes us look like rock stars.
Yeah, right.
And so, maybe there's one guy that's a lobbyist that's like, oh, I'm going to sell 500,000 missiles this month.
Oh my God, there's so many more lobbyists than there are even
lawmakers.
100%. It's hundreds and hundreds from literally thousands coming from smoking, the food industry, the pharmaceutical, the all the way down the line.
Smoking, we can break down into 180,000 other lobbyists because there's the smokeless tobacco, there's tobacco, now there's the nicotine vapors, now there's the nicotine chews.
Well, when that went out of style, smoking cigarettes, they went out and bought all of the food companies.
Oh yeah,
and they did the exact same thing. How can we make it more appealing and habit forming, if not addictive?
Yes, sir. 100%.
And it's not sugar. It's nothing natural. It's additives, and and you look at these poor kids getting autism, and they're getting all.
Well, just the obesity, just the heart problems,
the obesity, yes.
And I have a close family member with health issues, and so the phosphorus and phosphates are just a no-go.
Tell me about that.
So if your kidneys are weakened in any way, your body is constantly fighting. And so if you're on dialysis, your body is receiving a bunch of fluid, and then it is getting a bunch pumped back out of it to literally draw the toxins out of your blood. And what phosphates are doing is it's acting as a mild stimulant to all those toxins. And so I know there is a doctor out there screaming at their computer, screaming at their iPhone, but this is how it was.
Leave a comment down below.
Yeah.
Please.
Don't tag me.
Because we don't know anything.
but how it was dumbed down for my 12th grade brain was, this is a super bad additive that goes into a lot of foods, whether they're frozen, whether they're baked, whether they're X, Y, and Z. And so I challenge anybody out there, go out there to your grocery store and look in the ingredients for anything with PHOS. So phosphate.
What is a phosphate? I think of phosphate. I think of something that glows in the dark or something that...
It's a preservative.
Is that what it is? Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah.
And got to keep it on the shelf.
And for most, healthy young gents like yourself, you can go and pile down, as many onion rings with phosphates in them as you can, and the next day you wake up and go, oh, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
And somebody with, renal failure can have the same event, and it might put them under for a week.
Just fold them in half. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And so that is an item that is in a lot of foods, and it made me rethink everything. And not that I eat good, or I try my damnedest to stay alive at this point.
Right.
But I mean, a lot of the stuff that is in our foods is not good for what we're aiming at for a long and healthy life. But because Nabisco makes your cookies, you got to have that high fructose corn syrup, brother, because that drops their price 0.0004 cents a cookie, and if you add that up over a year, what's a little heart disease between friends when they can buy them a super yacht?
Right.
And that's the thing is, where do we stand on lobbying against that or fighting against that?
See, that's the question, right? How do we stop it?
And so my thought was, all right, what if I can get the ear of somebody at, the City Council of Monterey or City Council of Pacific Grove, or, oh, God bless it, City Council of Carmel by the Sea, and go, hey, I can prove through all these other people's medical science, and I can show you how damaging this can be. Maybe we just outlawed in city limits. And then all of a sudden, maybe another city looks at it and goes, oh, that's some interesting numbers. And so it goes from the inside out.
Right.
And so that's been my crazy, my harebrained scheme these days, is trying to get the ear of local governance and see what we can do locally, and hope that it catches fire. That would be cool.
I think I've heard that with like people doing that, trying to do that with just a school or a school system.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. Just make healthy lunches.
Totally.
Stop with the magic marker hamburgers that we used to get served, which actually were probably way better than what they serve now.
Oh,
with
yeah.
all the additives.
Yeah, but I mean, that square pizza could not have been healthy for anybody.
It was so good, bro.
Oh. You get that super burnt edge.
I know.
That's
Try
yours,
to get the
man.
most burnt one. Oh, yeah, no. But it was just eating a hole in us.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.